We live. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings, family. Welcome to Constructive Convos, bringing the conversation back to Black. This afternoon, I wanted to welcome some of our panel members here. So I'm going to call your name B2. Say what's up to the family.
Bless up, family powers.
Yes, and we have our brother E Black in the house.
Yeah, big up family, big up family.
We also have our sister Kushti Cosmetics.
Yeah, bless up.
Brother Raz.
Bless up, bless up.
We have Scattered Mind.
Oh man, what's up?
And our brother Witness.
Good evening, one and all.
And I am your wonderful sister, Melanated Goddess. And we just want to thank the family for joining us for yet another round of Constructive Convos. Today we have a very interesting topic. Some of us were talking and we decided to bring this out to the family and just, pick you guys' brains and see how you feel about it. So as a collective, we want to see, should we actually care about the how other people see us? Should we care how other people see us? How the people outside of our community, how they see us? What you guys think?
I don't necessarily think about care so much as it's such a difficult question when you say should we care, because it makes it sound like other people have some control over us and we're worried about what they think of us. But I think it's more of a strategic move, a political move, to have other people fear you, think well of you, so if you can, as a community, have people think highly of the entire group, that is a benefit. I don't think it's a negative thing at all. So, yeah.
Okay.
Like, I personally think, in some instances, it's not as important, but in a lot of instances, public perception does it. How people see you determines how people treat you. So, like, there's a lot of instances where it will be beneficial for us to change how perception is of us. That would be very beneficial in many instances, and even with ourselves as also, how we see each other. That's another thing.
Yeah, that's another. But that's true, because I'm thinking how, if we were respected, right, as a community based off of whatever, so that we have a favorable perception, then just when people encounter us, they wouldn't have this level of fear. They wouldn't have this level of anxiety, like that, or is this person too militant, or whatever their preconceived notions of us are, that would be replaced with a level of respect. And
yeah, definitely respect is an important thing. And I do think our community a lot of times is disrespected, and not only that, devalued. A lot of how people see us kind of it floats into what they think we've contributed to society. A lot of people overlook our contributions to society on a whole, just because we've been we're disrespected in people's eyes, or devalued, should I say.
Do you think some people would say that we already worry too much about what other groups and other people think of us, as though we are, do you know what I mean? Like we're always worried, oh, don't do this in front of white people, don't do that in front of white people. We're always worried about how we look in front of other groups and like some people think that's a disadvantage or a weakness.
Did you really think that we worry too much? I don't think that as a community we wouldn't look so crazy on social media, like the things on these entertainment media networks like World Star and stuff like that. I don't think that we would appear that way if we really cared too much right now. Because we look like out of control, lust-filled, aggressive, violent people.
That is the truth. I won't deny that. I won't lie about that. But like some people say, that whole Bill Cosby pull up your pants campaign and all of that sort of thing, where people were like, a lot of people were going at him and people like him because it was like, you know what I mean, you're attacking our like culture and things like this, or you're trying to you're too worried about how we look in front of other people, and like even down to the way people speak. Like sometimes people get attacked about the way they speak or whatever it is. Like you need to speak proper or whatever, and they're like, why can't I just talk the way I talk, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Like there is that perspective.
I
I'm just trying to
suppose,
think.
like, I hear what you're saying, Scott, definitely, yeah. I think first and foremost, we need to care about how we see ourselves, and then once we got a handle on that, then how other people will see us will be in a much better light. So yeah, we do need to tidy up house and clean house, in that respect. Yeah, so that is a good point. But on a whole, I do think it is important, for us to work on our perception, for us to elevate ourselves. It depends. If we're in a position to work like in isolation, strictly by ourselves, and then other people's opinions don't matter to us as much. But especially if we're living in other people's continents or countries or whatever, how they perceive us is going to determine how they interact with us, whether they're looking to hire us, whether they're looking to live near us, or whether all of these kind of things. So until we're able to lock in our situation and live in isolation, and the only our social standards are what matters, then I think there is okay, maybe care is a bit strong, but it's definitely beneficial. So if it's beneficial, should we not tap into that benefit?
Yeah. One thing I'll ask the whole of the panel, I guess, is like, how do you guys think like black people are currently perceived by other communities on a whole?
A couple of years ago, I saw an interesting thing on TV. This was when So Solid Crew were actually quite popular. They traveled to France, and they were walking on the streets, and a man saw them and said, "What's up, niggers?" And a number of So Solid Crew were upset, and they wanted to do something. And what's his name had to calm them down, and he said, "It's okay. This guy doesn't know anything. He's just feeding off images that he's seen." So this kind of tackles the question: should we care how other people perceive us? And we should. We already do anyway, because it actually determines how we as a people are treated by others when we're in the UK or when we're abroad. When they see images of us or things about us and we treat each other badly and we say bad things to each other, that will affect the way we are treated. I think that's what I believe. And plus, we already care anyway. If we didn't, we wouldn't be talking about it. Not this panel, but I mean, in general, across the world, we do care how people look at us and perceive us.
And I suppose, yeah, like other people are more likely to, say, for example, in America with the police shootings, yeah, if other people, other communities saw us in a different light, they may be more willing to stand with us, and there'll be more outrage, and there'll be less murders. A lot of justification or comes through the devaluation of us, and that it starts with devaluation, and then it just leads to disrespect, and then it ends with murder and projects and scraps.
Yeah, I hear that. But yeah, sorry, I just want to ask again. Like, do you guys think? What do you guys think is like black people? How black people are currently perceived by other communities?
You know,
Sorry, did you say bad? Did you? I couldn't hear you. What you?
he's asked how do we think that black people are currently being perceived by other communities?
Oh, right, I see. Not in a very positive light, because there's a great deal of this discrimination against black people, because people racially profile you based on your skin color. They assume you're going to talk or think in a certain way, so they look down at you negatively. Not everyone, but most people do. That's what I think.
And you know, there's that being black with a hoodie, walking down a road, and you know, having people cross the road because they think that something might happen to them. That kind of perception. There's the, you know, lazy, criminal perception, you know, uneducated perception. I think there's a lot, or not even but less, you know. I think most communities perceive themselves to be better than our community. You know, like, yeah, also disorganized. Like, you know, the term, a lot of people talk about this black on black crime situation, like where we're unable to organize and we don't value each other, and you know, these kind of perceptions.
Anyone else? I agree with by the way.
Yeah, I would just like to add, like, I think there was a perception that like black people are just more sexual. The black woman and as well as the black man are usually over sexualized and in images that you see on social media, in the movies. They're always, you know, wanting to highlight the physique of the black man, and you know, the black woman overly sexualized and promoting dances that she developed to like gyrate her body and stuff like that, like how popular twerking has become and things like that. Just, I don't know, I just think that they view us as like always, you know, popping out babies and just being sexual.
Yes, that's a very good point, because it does. So in that sense, we should care how other people perceive us, because it manifests itself physically. There are situations where a black woman and might be in a particular part of the world, and because of negative images, they might then assume that this is a loose woman or a prostitute. And I have got a relative who traveled to a particular part of the Middle East, and everywhere she went, it was assumed that she was a loose woman and a prostitute because of her skin color. That's how she was perceived. She didn't have to say anything. It didn't matter that she dressed eloquently. It did not matter. It's just the way that people see us, perceive us in a negative light. So I think we should care. We should, number one, look at ourselves and try to improve ourselves. But we can't, you know, ignore the fact that people look at us in a certain way, and it does affect us. We have to just admit to that.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely affecting us, you know, in terms of, or like, do you think, say for example, of hiring, do you think how people perceive us is really the factor behind that, or a major factor behind like them not hiring people with you know, for example, African sounding names, or do you think it's actually just a nepotism kind of lock us out situation?
The interviewing process is based on prejudices from the start. I was once told by a sociologist that the moment you walk into a room for the interview, they've already decided on whether they're giving you the job or not. They then spend the remaining minutes of the interview convincing themselves that they made the right decision not to give you the job in the first place. It could be anything. Your hair, maybe you're not the right height, maybe you're not wearing a long enough skirt, maybe you're the wrong color, maybe they can't be bothered to pronounce your name, maybe your accent puts them off. There's a million and one things within the interviewing process which is prejudicial. In regards to black people, without a shadow of doubt, there's a great deal of prejudices, but there are people who are still willing to give people a chance regardless of their race. But prejudices still manifest themselves within the interviewing process. that cannot be ignored. They've always existed there. Sometimes some people only hire black people because they just want to fill a quota. So.
Yeah, I suppose that is becoming more of apparent, like this quota situation. But you know, there's always ways around that one also, and people will be exploiting that.
Wait, how would they do that? What are the ways around? That's interesting. You said to exploit it.
It's like, say for example, Rez brought this up to me before, yeah, because or was it Rez? Or was having conversations about I never thought about it before in terms of models, right? Because say now, obviously mixed people are black and non-black, right? And then say some people that are like maybe 25% black, right, might qualify for this you know, this quota. So then what happens, it becomes like a colorism situation also, you know, where a lot of people that are even darker skinned or don't get the opportunities to meet, like the quota might be met, but then of darker skinned people, there's still zero. Do you see what I'm saying? So like there's still even ways where black people are still not really getting to take full advantage of such quotas.
Okay, I see what you mean. Based on colorism, particular
Yeah.
skin. Yeah, okay, I see. Since we're all of us, we're kind of agreed that we should care how other people see us. How can we change that so it works for our benefit? Curious. That sounds a bit. That's harder than.
You mean how do we change? How do we change the perceptions that they have of us to work for our benefit?
Yes. Yes.
How can we?
Like I suppose some of it, you know, happens through individual experience, you know, one-to-one interaction where now people have met, like interacted with black people that changes their opinion. Like, oh, actually, you know, I used to think black people was like that, but having, you know, met some black people, they're not as how the media has told us or such and such. I also think, you know, just how we profile is important. Say, for example, you know, the Nation of Islam, yeah, for example, yeah, it's it's pretty hard to portray them as lazy or, you know, people that are not for each other or such and such. Do you get what I'm saying? So by having a situation where we have unified fronts and where people can see that we're organized, I think that these kind of things do bring more respect and people see us in a more positive light. When we're much more individualistic and divided and not having a big reference point, a collective reference point, it's easier for people to just look at the media and movies and all of these kind of stereotypes that people will be seeing.
So in that sense, we shouldn't really give a damn about how people perceive us. It's just a case of us looking after ourselves, being there, working as a collective, looking after our people. And then, because some might argue, it doesn't matter how well as a people we do, you will always have people looking down at us. So in that sense, just concentrate on supporting each other, uplifting our communities, and just concentrate on ourselves. One could even argue that it doesn't matter what we do. You will always be looked at in a negative light, always be viewed in a negative light. It's just, how should I say, subconsciously entrenched in people to just look at us negatively. So it doesn't really matter what we do. I mean, you can always do something good, but you'll always be the good colored guy in the office. You know, you won't even be a human being, you'll be the black guy. So it doesn't really matter. Oh, the black woman.
Maybe. Peace, brother. Solving the race problem.
Peace to everybody on the panel. What's going on, everybody?
Blessings, bro.
Hey,
Blessings.
peace. Hey, peace to all the brothers and sisters on the panel. Shout out to the UK family and shout out to anybody who I haven't formally met with. But I appreciate you having me on. I kind of wanted to peace. I wanted to chime in on what the last brother was speaking on. I think he made a very interesting point that the overall perceptions that, and I'm speaking from the paradigm of Black America, but I'll address the diaspora as well. But the at least from what I've been able to see, the overall perception of the Black American or the Black person in general is this fundamental idea of laziness, listlessness, uneducated. Even if every single facet of your being goes against those things, the perception is still that Black people are lazy. The perception is still that Black people are uneducated, even though those things don't align with reality. If I could just like run a parallel between, for example, I'll give you a quick story. Dr. Joy DeGruy, she's a writer. If anybody's interested in her work, she wrote a book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And within this book, she talks about an excavation that happened within upstate New York. Upstate New York, they started to do an excavation of some formerly enslaved Africans. The anthropologists found these really weird marks on the people's bones. So she's looking at these marks on the bones, and the anthropologists are looking like, what are these marks? The marks that were on their bones were because the muscle detached away from it. These were things that modern scientists have not seen. So that's saying that the people literally were worked to death. These people were literally worked to death, and we're descendants of those people. And then people of the dominant society had a nerve to call you lazy. So you could literally work to death, have your muscle detached from a bone, an injury that people don't see, and they will still turn around and call you lazy, which echoes the same sentiment that the brother was just saying, which I agree with, is that it doesn't matter what we do. The perception is still that you are lazy, listless, and all of these other negative qualities that they've attributed to us that are not true. So with that being said, I think that focusing in on ourselves, empowering our own community will go much further than trying to appease and cater to them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. That's pretty much like, I think a lot of us feel like once we as a group collectively start to change the perceptions we have of ourselves, because I don't think that I don't think the way that we treat each other is if we have value on ourselves. And if we started to change that, how we see ourselves, how we see one another, whether we see them as brother or sister, or, we all one community and so forth, getting to that place, I think, the way other people see us will just be like, a bonus. But the main goal is us changing how we see ourselves and how we interact with each other.
Yeah, I definitely think that's going to be the most beneficial, because I suppose if we change how other people see us, but we don't pattern up the circle within inside ourselves, then really and truly, what's the point? We only move in forward as individuals in the first place, which really and truly is not going to allow us to aggregate anything and to really have any control, any control over our own direction as a people. We're going to be reliant on outsiders' thoughts and opinions, handouts and opportunities.
Then we're going to have to really look at each other, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that we as Black folk are doing that we don't agree with. And we have to call other Black folk. Do we call other Black people out on it? How do we come together to do things? Like, for instance, we're talking about respecting each other. That means we can't use certain words to talk about each other. That means we have to be respectful to each other in a way that, I don't know, is it possible? Like, it's almost like having a code of conduct, the way we treat each other. That's because if we can't even figure that out, how are you going to bring people together?
That's a good point in terms of with how people see us, like how they see us talking to each other and how they see us dealing with each other. Say for example with the N-word, yeah.
To each other in a way that
if people see us using the N-word towards each other, it makes them more comfortable with using it themselves, right? So if other people see us moving in ways that is not fully respectful to each other, then I suppose what gives them the idea that they should be, or they're required to be, respectful to us um and value us and these kind of things.
And I think you're making a good point. And the sister melanated goddess as well, as far as the self-hate is definitely an element that we need to address if we're being introspective and seeing how these dynamics affect how we see ourselves. The brother, I just saw witness on his name. I didn't catch his name, but having a code of conduct is absolutely something that we should do. And I think to tie both elements together is that if we are being the people who we talk about we want to see, for example, if you look toward media and it's not showing Black people in a positive light, let's be that example that people need to see. For example, this panel, being able to have a constructive conversation, people take turns, nobody yelling, name calling. So being those examples of what constructive Black people, progressive Black people look like. So that's the importance of media outlets like this, to be an example and setting the stage to show that this is how we can and should conduct ourselves moving forward.
Indeed, indeed. We definitely, strive here at Constructive Convos to provide that type of example, for you all, the people in the chat, to have a place where you can have a constructive conversation, even in our chat room. For anyone out there who hasn't already liked the video, stop watching and just like the video, okay? This is so that more people will have this particular video in their recommendations. So like and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to our channels and hit the notification bell so you can be notified the next time we go live, because we stay having an interesting topic and we have a great panel with different views. You have the US, you have UK members, and we try to have it funky over here. So we can get back to our conversation. Was it you who spoke last, brother, solving the race problem?
Yeah, like see with how we see ourselves, yeah. So see with the family, yeah. See when as we growing up as a child, yeah. Do you think, yeah, we need to start showing our children who ourselves really are? And when I say ourselves, because some people are growing up where ourselves is them as the individual. Some people are growing up with themselves as just like their nuclear family. Do you think that that is something that we need to push a lot more, that ourselves is a lot bigger than ourselves and that we are representing more than ourselves? Or, we just need to, as individuals or as families, represent ourselves properly, and then everything will work out by itself?
Well, it starts off within the family and the community. And when I say community, it starts off with your family, you, your wife, your kids, and your friends, who are also a Black family with Black kids, and you all have you all meet up for barbecues. The kids know each other, the parents know each other. That's what the kids see immediately. They see what's going on within their home with their parents, and then outside of their home with friends of the family. So that it starts off like that, simple. You get it simple. You have that type of good bond where obviously within that network, people are respectful. You meet up for people's baby naming ceremonies or a family get together, and everybody's there polite. There's no disrespect racially. So that's how it starts. The kids see that, they feed off that, they see that imagery, they live it, they love it. And within that, you naturally as a parent, you're going to be teaching your children about loving the fact that they're Black, teaching them history, not just relying on a school to teach them about themselves. You as a parent are going to be teaching them. So they're going to be learning about themselves educationally from their parents. And the other thing that I was thinking of, which some people have mentioned, is homeschooling that involves teaching them about being their African, their Caribbean culture. That's important because you can't rely on schools to do that. Most Eurocentric schools aren't going to do that. So they need to know about themselves educationally. But first start at home, mother, father, kids, family, friends, get together, black people happy meeting, the children will feed off that and feel confident and happy about themselves, their skin color and their community. That's what I think you should do. And plus, should we care how other people see us? The reason why we shouldn't care, I'll give you an example. Jewish people. Jewish people, most of them are one of the most successful people in the world. Yet most people know that most people look down on Jews. They see them as money grubbing. They see them as being part of some system to destroy the world for their own self-gain. So it doesn't matter how smart they think they are or how successful they are financially. Most people think they're scum. So you shouldn't really care what other people think about you. Just focus on yourself and your community.
That's a very good point. Using them as an example. Is there anyone that disagrees with that example or thinks that that example, it wouldn't work for us if by applying that?
I didn't disagree, but could I build on his point?
Okay, yeah, I'll jump in after.
I was just going to say that one of the first revolutionary acts that anybody can do is start to build a black family. The black family is under constant attack. I'm sure I don't have to convince anybody of that. So building a healthy black cohesive family unit would not only show men treating women fairly, women treating men fairly, it would show them communication amongst black people. It's a place where you can start to harbor some financial discipline, where you can instill cultural competency. So a lot of those major pillars of black success that we need, it can absolutely start in the home with building a healthy family, with men, you know, stepping out in the forefront, and women being willing to build these healthy, strong, cohesive black family units, because that's what a community is composed of. These fractions and these culminations of black families. So that's all I was going to add in what the brother just mentioned.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with either of the brothers were saying. I think they're good points, but I would say, whilst the Jewish community, quote unquote, don't care about what people think about them in general, I think they definitely take good care to make sure that they have good relationships with governments of nations and making sure that elite classes and so on in those nations do respect them and do, or at least have to respect them, or have to at least work with them in some way or another. So like here in the UK, like you say, there might be these massive conspiracy theories and people might look down on the Jews in all kinds of ways. But when you look at government officials and government figures, they are massively quite supportive and protective of the Jews, more so than any other community, I would say. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think there's a bit, the Jewish community understand that being maybe in the wider public it doesn't matter, but they make sure that they are respected in the eyes of those who probably do matter in their eyes, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's because the Jews have been very smart in getting into power. So when they are lobbying for things, they have people within that power structure who are Jewish, who will lobby for them. So people will do business with the Jews and smile and shake their hands, but of course behind their backs, they'll say a different thing. But it's always because they're smart enough to have their own people within various elements of the power structure, which is something most black people don't have. We don't have that luxury. So we're kind of 100% dependent on other people like wanting to work with us. Whereas with them, they don't really need to do that because there's always some group of people in that industry who are Jewish, who understand the code and just do what they need to do. It doesn't matter whether it's media, music industry, Hollywood, there's always, or senators, there's always someone there who's Jewish or a group of Jewish people. So the Jewish person is smart enough to say, oh, I'll go and ask Sipowicz over there, or I'll go ask Jacob Goldstein because I know he's Jewish and he'll understand where I'm coming from. Black folk, we don't have that. So we're too dependent on our enemies giving us a chance. So I think that's why the Jews are, one of the reasons the Jews are successful.
Yeah, and I think in time when we sort out ourselves, we'll have our own respect, because I think we don't need to be really looking outside for anyone else, because it's clear, like, obviously we don't have no allies and no friends, and that's not what we need right now. We just need to focus, like you said, building back the family foundation, and you get me, as black people. But everything you said is right. It's very clear that Jewish people have alliances within the elite and everything. So obviously, we don't have that luxury, and we shouldn't even be looking for that. We just need to build and focus on ourselves. And like obviously now's that time, and then in that time they will have, because what it is people do have respect for us, but it's misplaced because it's like they want to be us, they love us, but same time it's like they're allowed to be disrespectful with it. You understand? It's like they don't know what to do with their energy. So once we sort out ourselves and focus on ourselves, in time we'll have that overall. This is what I believe from my point of view. We'll have that overall respect. Is obviously it's just like we're allowing and entertaining a lot of outside. You get me? Contamination. You understand? And being too like he said, brother said, being too having to be too reliant on these same people that are trying to oppose all type of injustices on us. So yeah, I think that all of that will come into time. But right now, we just need to focus on us, because right now it's like we damned if we do, we damned if we don't. You understand? We're very courteous of letting people be understanding, letting people be comfortable. People are still getting disrespect, so it's like we don't really need to be. I used to think that we need to be worried about how we're being perceived and how we represent ourselves, but I just realized like it's a lose-lose for us, because it doesn't make a difference because we're just looked at a certain way anyway. So I think we just need to focus on us as a community, and then we'll get back our respect rightfully, because it's misplaced respect right now. You understand? So that's how I see it.
This might get some people irritated, but you know when Barack Obama became president of the United States of America, there were a lot of people who started looking at black people in a completely different way. And when Black Panther came out, the movie, I found out that it kind of changed the perception of the way people looked at Black Americans, even though it was for a very short period. So it's strange how certain things that you don't even think of can actually change people's perception. Not that we should give a damn, but it's just it would appear that certain things can actually change people's perceptions of black folk images. But at the same time, those images can easily just promote something very negative that we don't need. So I don't know, maybe you'll see a black person who wins the 100 meters. So then every single black person is supposedly supposed to be fast. Or if you turn up to play sports, people say, oh, yeah, you're black. Give him a basketball. He'll be like Michael Jordan. So I don't know. But we've all come to the conclusion that we don't give a damn. We need to do our own thing. We need to stay on code, promote the black family, and promote respect for ourselves. But I still think it goes deeper than that. There still has to be some more stuff that we do, of course, with the autonomy financially. But I don't know, it just doesn't seem like an easy thing, because we're really fighting an uphill battle as black people. So I don't know. It
Like,
can't.
do you think people are scared of us? Yeah, like in a whole, and also are we scared of each other outside of like the people that we are actually connected to?
Yes, to both of those questions. I believe so.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people are scared of us, and at the same time, couple that with them, like I said, wanting to be us at the same time. So it's like some misplaced respect, and you understand. But they are very much scared of us, because they actually know that they are aware that, listen, power is a real thing, and power does not start. Like, don't let these people, like Europeans and elites and whatever, make you fool. Things and money doesn't equate to real power. Everybody, even as ignorant as they want to come off, is aware that power lies within you, and they know that we have power. You understand? This is why they're going so hard to break down us as a collective. You understand? And everyone doesn't want us to come together, because they realize once we come together, we have our ultimate power. So that's what it is. We're very powerful as people, because remember, everyone wants to be like us, everyone wants to act like us, everyone wants to emulate us. You understand? That's because the power that don't come from nowhere. That comes from power. Yes, the Jews are doing whatever they're doing, but people are not emulating them. You understand? Yes, the Chinese, but people are not emulating them. They're emulating us because they know that we have a certain amount of power. And so that's what I'm saying. But it's obviously at the same time, because they're trying to push that at the bottom of the barrel, but they know it's not that. So once we come together, I think we will just get back respect. Not saying that we're looking for respect from anyone, but I believe so. They're very scared, and they're very scared for us to get back together. This is why we have all these little divisions within ourselves. You understand? And this is what we need to combat. You understand? Like you said, it's really an uphill battle, because it's a lot of work. It's not just, oh, we're going to get funding and build institutions. It's like we need to break away the divisions within the divisions that we have, because that's what's making people assume we lack understanding of our power and of ourselves, which we do in all our ignorance. I'm telling you, when you sit down and talk to people, they know that true power lies within yourself, and they are very aware. Like they say, lions don't need to be worried about being in the business of worrying about what sheep are doing. There's a reason why we are being attacked like so strong, get me, invade them relentlessly, because they know that we hold a power. We just need to identify that and tap into that. You understand? So that's what I believe it is.
I'd like to ask our American cousins a couple of questions, if they don't mind. That's for melanated and solving the race problem. I look across the ocean to America, and I see some of the most successful Black people on this planet. I've seen Black Americans become governors, presidents, mayors, police chiefs, in the military, making loads of money as actors, musicians. I see Black Americans who are senators. And so I'm curious, with all that success, I'm fascinated how the structure still finds a way to oppress Black Americans, because to me, Black Americans have achieved so much since the 19th century. I still don't understand how powerful that structure is within that country to somehow oppress Black Americans. I don't get it. I just think, I don't know. Obviously, this is something you guys would know more, because you live in North America. And I'm just seeing it from documentaries.
Now, just to clarify, your question was on the power structure. I caught the last tail end of that. I had a phone call. I'm sorry about that.
Sure.
You can clarify your question, brother?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I was just saying that when I look across the ocean, I see a lot of Black Americans who are incredibly successful, even within the power structure. Apart from the fact that you had Barack Obama as a president, Black American men and women have gone on to become mayors, governors, senators, working within the power structure. So I still find it, I don't know how powerful that power structure is, that it's still able to suppress Black Americans, because I've seen Black Americans historically achieve so much within America. I don't get how powerful that system is.
Yeah, the interesting dynamic about it is that what we evaluate as Black success, quote unquote Black success, is generally contingent upon assimilating into what white society has given us. For example, the modern day Black person who goes to college and graduates, who ends up in a mountain of debt, still doesn't get the same economic opportunities that their white counterparts does. Black college graduates with going to graduate schools or PhD still don't get the same economic opportunities, the same financial opportunities that their white counterparts do. Even if they pursue money, as we're saying that money is something that evaluates them as successful, we've seen report after report that Black wealth in America is not generational. In other words, the so-called successful Black person that is able to acquire some wealth, it generally ends right there with them. Because if they go spend it on fancy designer clothes or high-end retail or property, whatever it is, that money, those resources are going right back to the dominant community. So what I've started to do is not have my basis in my evaluation of success solely upon the ability to acquire things from the dominant society. I'll give you a quick story to give you more context on this Obama dynamic, because when Barack Obama came in his presidency, it was 2008, and at that time I was in high school, and I was probably about 18. I was in 12th grade. It was the first time I was able to vote, man. Like it was a powerful time. So first time being able to vote, Barack Obama won, and I'm telling you, I thought to myself, I said, man, racism is over. I really did. I said, yo, like racism is done for. We got a black president. Racism is over. This is the impression that I'm under 18-year-old me. Racism is over. I thought the whole thing was done. The reason that I found out that here's the crazy part about it. There's a brother named Skip Gates, Henry Louis Gates. He does documentaries. And within his documentaries, he researches African history and whatnot. Henry Louis Gates was at his house and he went to try to get into his home. He was locked out. Henry Louis Gates tries to break into his own house to get in. Henry Louis Gates is a black man. His white neighbors call the cops on him and say, this black man is trying to break into somebody's house in our neighborhood. Police come, arrest him because they didn't believe that this black man lived in a house. The black man goes. Henry Louis Gates proved that he lived there. Henry Louis Gates is a pretty prolific figure in the black community, documentaries, you know, people know him. This gets up to Obama. Obama finds out about this. So Obama says that the cops are morons. Obama calls the cops morons. I'm paraphrasing. In other words, because they didn't believe this black man and they locked him up. Here we got a situation. President of the free world insults somebody, a low-level cop in New Hampshire somewhere. The interesting dynamic, and when I realized that racism wasn't over, is when Obama had to apologize to those cops. Why would the president of the free world of the United States of America have to apologize to some low-level cop because he disagreed with what they did? And at that point, I realized that the power structure hadn't gone anywhere, that this low-level cop has the ability to make the president of the United States bow down and apologize to him. That's what I'm saying about the dynamic, that although you have a black face, it is a black face on white power. We can't get that part confused. So I know I went off on a tangent and went in, you know, a little bit of stories, but I hope that thoroughly answered your question, or I allow, you know, the other Americans, black Americans, to get our perspective on that as well.
Thanks very much.
I'm sorry, Brother Scattered. I would just like to answer the original question of should we care how others see us. I would probably say that no, we shouldn't care, but we should probably use it as a marker. So we should just stay focused on job, making sure that we are supporting each other, building our community up better. And I think eventually, naturally, the perception of us would change. The only reason why I'd say that I would still keep it as a marker to just always look at our perception as a community is because, like what I've agreed with others that have said on the panel, perception does still have quite a lot of power and influence in regard to us moving forward as a community.
Okay, that's true. That's true. I wanted to respond to Witness's question. As far as you know, the perception of Black people here in America and why, despite the positive images of Black people who have achieved a level of success in the country, why is it still so difficult for us to kind of be perceived on an equal playing field? And I think that the amount of success is not it's not promoted and known about by many people. Like there are, you know, obviously Barack Obama, and you know, like, so like key figures, like if your mayor was Black, you know, you have a Black mayor. But on the flip side, on a lower level, when Black people are going to work, children are going to school, if the authority figures of those environments still are not representative of your community, then you're going to always see, you know, when you think of authority, you think of someone who's non-Black. I mean, just like in New York City, it's almost as if like the entire freaking police force is like Irish or something. They at the point where, you know, they were kind of like, there was a big push to like give them all these type of jobs in the police force and the fire department, and even for the Department of Sanitation, and even to this present day, you know, they kind of have that on lock. So when you think of like certain systems that are put in place for people who are non-Black, you know, they maintain the system so that for generations, we're kind of like elbowed out of those type of environments. So, and we're kind of like guided. I'm not going to say like someone's putting a gun to your head and making you do, making our community make some of the decisions that we do. But I am saying that when you are blocked out, so to speak, out of certain environments, then we have fewer and fewer options of where to go, and we're kind of guided in certain directions. And then when we go in those directions, it's encouraged and promoted, right? So, and then we have things like reality TV that give visuals to the negative things that we don't want. So, so yeah, I just think like in the U.S., though the systems that might even have been in place at least 3 generations ago, whether it's in the school system, in the police department, as I said, in certain unions and things like that, those things still are in place today, and that kind of keeps that structure of keeping us subordinate.
Thanks very much for that. I was curious, there was something you mentioned about in your past, or someone you knew who was in the military. Were they looked at differently when they were in the military by their peers, or?
Who are you speaking of, me or solving the race problem? Because I was actually in the military, so.
I know, yes. I at yourself. I was just curious if you could tell me that didn't make a blind bit of difference. It didn't matter how hard you worked. How? You
mean from people outside the community?
I'm curious about both within. Outside, but both actually. Both.
Okay, so I think that in the U.S., people have a great respect for. Okay, when I say people, non-Black people really take this military and participation very seriously. So when you do tell them that you served the country, it's like, oh, thank you so much for your service. You know, like they're really. I think it's kind of like having a membership to a certain fraternity or something. Like you just almost can sense a little like your guard is down. I guess they think that I'm brainwashed or something, but I don't know. But yes, I will say that those members are I'm not gonna say they see me so favorable and they don't see me as a Black woman that has all of those stereotypes, but I will say that there is a difference. From within the community, I think you get like all of those generalizations, but either you're getting an opinion of someone that's like, oh, you supporting the system, blah, 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 you're helping the man to oppress us, and they come at you from that realm, or it's more of they think that your life was the epitome of every James Bond movie or something like that. And but I don't think that in the Black community, the military is really looked upon as well as it is outside the community.
One of the things that you said, Witness, here, that I was just thinking about in terms of the Jewish community, right? How people perceive them and how they're seen. One of the things is they do control a lot of media, so I'm definitely thinking that is a tool that they've been using to propel themselves into their situation. Not the key tool, but it's definitely one of the tools, to control how people see them, and
Well, actually, with the media thing, they don't want people to know that they're in control. They just want to be behind the scenes in the shadows. But people are smart enough to know when you have a studio called Warner Bros. Or Metro Goldwyn Mayer or something, you figure out, hey, these guys aren't Anglo-Saxon, they're Jewish. But of course, they're trying to hide behind the scenes and control stuff. But it was interesting what you mentioned and what Melanated mentioned in regards to how we should we care how other people see us, because it was interesting what Melanated said about how we as Black people see Black folk who are in the military or in the police force. So it's almost like there's a section of us who treat them as the enemy, as working with the oppressor to oppress their own fellow brothers and sisters. Is there any way we can ever change that? Can ever be changed, or is that's just a done deal? Black folk will not trust Black people in the military or the police. Should we just accept that? I don't know.
It's like, because it depends with the police. Yeah, I think because of the systemic racism in the police force, and with the army situation, it's like, so if you're a soldier and you're based in an African or like in a Black country, or you need to potentially go and fight against a Black country, it's pretty hard to be a Black person and be supportive of that. And yeah, with the police situation, even if you're not involved directly with what's going on in terms of like a lot of the shootings and stuff, if you're part of the police force and you're not actively working against it, then it is a bit of a difficult situation. And it's not just the police killings. Like there was I think a sergeant or someone in Chicago the other day that just got arrested for falsely imprisoning or falsifying evidence against, I think it was around 60 people, I think so, who have just recently been released, which, all of them went to prison and they've only been released now, which is messed up their lives and their families' lives and all of these kind of things. So generally policing and, with the origin of police, it was never to our benefit. So I think it's difficult for us to be,
And not even that, we need to understand that at this current time, like they're using our own to infiltrate us. Like at the end of the day, it within the system as well. So like as for like the police and stuff, I don't see how you could be operating the police and military when you know that they have like untoward kind of agenda as part of agendas where against, you get me, many minorities, including Black people. I don't see how that how that makes sense. But obviously people say, well, people have to live and people have to work, but that's the whole point. Like you need to understand that as for the police and stuff, we all know that they're corrupt and they've been corrupt, and we all know it's part of agenda. So at the end of the day, I could like I can't, like, I wanted to be a social worker. I can't be a social worker knowing that these people are abusing their authority and trying to take people's children as cash cows to get money. You understand? To put them fostering. You understand? So how does that work? You get me? And if you don't believe in something, why would you be in something that you don't believe? So we need to understand that all these things is in this current time where they're using our own people to infiltrate us. This is why they have these shows. This is why certain networks give these shows to give these platforms for these shows to obviously further infiltrate and put out a ideology to our own people that certain behavior, certain mindset is normal, like chasing money. You understand? Even having people as actors and like having a Black, yeah, because everyone thought that once we had a Black president, everything was safe. They do it for a reason. You understand? To make us feel like we have some type of comfortability that we don't have, and kind of cloud our thought and make us feel like reinforcing our own negative. Yeah, you understand? Negative outlook and how we view ourselves, and push that out there to reinforce that, to keep us from actually coming together and unifying and obviously correcting us within ourselves. You understand? So I don't equate all this Black people as successful. No, some of them are part of the puppeteer. You get me, the puppeteering of our demise, and you need to be very aware of that. You understand? Because there is not just the fact that if we sat down and everyone sat down and saw all white people, we'd be acting like this. No, it's because we actually have our own black people where they are given, because remember, we don't own no institutions, where they're giving platform for them to reinforce their agenda. You understand? So where they see there's cracks and all they might be seeing, they have us reinforce that. You understand? To the point that we are now so much normalizing our behavior, we can't see no different. It irritates me, it irks me when I hear people say, oh, these black people are successful. If they are so successful, then what are they actually doing to change the black community? Because there's so much people that have some false ideology power, and they actually don't have no power. You understand? What they are there for is for that purpose, to reinforce all the nonsense. You understand? To reinforce the agenda of these people. So they give them these platforms. In no way are they successful. In no way, because these are the same people that are putting out fake movies about Wakanda, where we have this false hope and false ideology of, oh, they actually respect us. They actually
Black Spice, I wanted to comment on something, and I don't want you to change go to another topic. You was talking about why basically if you believed in something, then you wouldn't join, because you were talking about the police and the military, and I wanted to say that a lot of people join the military, before, at an age where they may not necessarily be in the know, right? And I'm sure it might be the same for police officers. So, I think I met a police officer one time, and I asked him, because he was maybe 4 years away from retirement, and was a detective, and but he's starting to become conscious, and I was asking him, is this a conflict for you? How do you kind of manage that? If you see or hear something, that's messed up, or where one of your partners or somebody that you work with did something, how do you deal with that, now that your eyes are starting to be open? Whereas before, he was he kind of came from the ghetto and was, was just really proud that he was able to get a job and not be dependent on his mom, who was a single woman. So, he had his own reasons of trying to achieve something stable with benefits and all those kind of things are the reasons why people get into those fields, especially at an early age. But then now he's approaching retirement, and he's just his biggest prayer was that a situation wouldn't happen, especially right in front of him, where he would have to take a stand and just lose, 18 years of work, because they would be looking for any reason to kind of snatch that away, and now you don't even get your retirement. And I was just like, wow, I think that, as a community, we have this this animosity towards our police officers, and some of them really do some shady stuff. I think that just personalizing it and realizing that people become aware at different stages and at different ages, and they may be, having certain feelings, but due to no one's going to throw away their retirement 2 years away because now they done heard about Dr. Sabi and Dr. Clark and Marcus Garvey, and they want to be on Pan-African. That's not even realistic when you think about your ability to be able to plan for the future. So I'm not trying to make excuses for people supporting the system, but what I am saying is that our people need to be strategic, and they need to be strategic with their resources. And if that is going to be an area that they go into, they need to come out with some skills and things like that. And, we should respect their decisions. But the police force, I think that I will acknowledge that I definitely have a strong, I'm kind of hard on them. Let me say that, because I feel like because they are so silent, like with all of these injustices, I have very, very little sympathy when one of them like does get charged with whatever wrong they did and they lose their job or they get sent home with no pay and all that kind of stuff. I have very little sympathy, even if I don't know the details of the story, just because. So I will admit my own negative bias when it comes to the police versus the military, I guess.
I think what Brother Witness was asking as well in terms of yeah, is there any kind of acceptable way? Like I think if there's a brother or sister in the police force, but they're constantly looking to stamp out injustice, then I think we could accept that. I
Mm-hmm.
think, if there's someone doing that, then not only could we accept that, we'd probably even champion them, really, because they're there for the cause. And also, I think what you was just saying, sis, in terms of, career and this and that, I think, you know, that's already a bit late in the game. If we are doing what we was talking about earlier in terms of teaching about community from a young age, then we're able to
Mm-hmm.
instill what's important and what is success and what we should be driving for in terms of benefiting the whole community altogether,
Right.
which would stop us from ending up in certain compromising situations and then having to, just stick with it.
Right, because a lot of people are in those positions really out of necessity. I mean, when you think of what what Black poverty is in some of our more southern states in the United States, Alabama and Mississippi, that like it's real poverty, and the opportunity to literally make a couple $1,000s a month is big for some of them. You know what I mean? And it's a way out. It's a way out of that. You get a job that's going to make you travel and stuff. So this is literally how our people are getting, caught up in that, and we don't really have many options. But I mean, I'm sorry, I wasn't really trying to change this. And am I changing the? I think I'm changing the subject from from us caring about the way other people see us. Guys, if you are enjoying the conversation, I want you to put some ones in the chat. Put some ones in the chat if you are enjoying the conversation. We're talking about the areas where Black people, the different avenues that we take in order to try to improve our image, and just how should we care? Should we think all the time and try to meet a certain image, an image that is, and who sets that image? Maybe that's a question that we could ask. Like, do we set the image? Sister Black Spice said that everyone wants to emulate us, but if they want to emulate us, then are we setting the standard for everything, or is it the
That's
other way
true.
around?
It's also like, what part of it are they trying to emulate of us?
Exactly. And right now, what they're trying to emulate from us is everything that's negative. You understand? So they're also perpetuating this negative association with being Black. That's what's going on right now. So all the music, dancing, or the programming and stuff, like it's all negative. It's not positive. You understand? Because and they even equate with, they say to someone, if a white person or someone of who's non-Black, if you're doing this, automatically it means you're being Black. But whenever they say something like that, it equates to, it's always something that's negative. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
what type of image do we actually want to see? I mean, melanated goddess. Do you remember in America there was a black guy called Sheriff Clark, David Clark or something? Do you remember him? Or you don't? He's not on your radar.
What's his name?
Sheriff Clark, David Clark. He was like, he was always talking about, he was always speaking out against Black Lives Matter and stuff. He was a Black American guy, and he was a sheriff. Delaware. I think he was.
I'm not sure.
Delaware.
Brother solving the race problem. You familiar?
Yeah, I'm quite familiar with him. Yeah.
Okay.
He wears the cowboy hat with a white
Yes.
wife. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Oh, he's got a white wife. Okay.
Oh yeah. He and the crazy. They allow him to speak at the Republican National Convention as long as he's, speaking against Black people. But he's a Democrat. He's a Democrat. He has a white wife. But as long as you want to speak down on Black people, they'll prop you up. And that's what Sheriff Clark is doing. He's he was the head of a prison as well. That like 7 Black people died at the prison that he was, like the head person over. Yeah, I'm very familiar with him.
Well, you just answered my question then, because I was going to ask, what do you think of him? Because the question is, how do we see each other? So some would see him as a Black person who achieved success, but as was mentioned earlier by Black Spice and other people, it depends what you consider success. And from what you've said, obviously, most people don't give a damn about him. So I'm just curious, what kind of image would all of us agree on that we've seen of Black people that we actually all appreciate and respect and see as inspirational?
I'll say this, at least within pop culture. I know that, there might be some sensitive things around what he has done lately, but the character in the show of The Cosby Show, I think was very powerful of giving Black people identity through a multimedia platform that's very popular, which was TV at the time, to not only show a healthy nuclear family, show a mom and a dad, show college graduate people who are being financially responsible. Like, I think the elements of the show, what it showed, it wasn't buffoonery, it wasn't coonery. It was Black people being constructive, being normal, everyday Black people, that I think is a much more accurate reflection of contemporary Black society than, let's say, contrasting that with Love and Hip Hop or some foolishness there. So as far as what we want to see, I think the outline is there. The examples are there. We just have to promote that type of stuff. Same within the within like music, popular music. We have to promote the rappers, promote the artists that are doing the constructive work, talking about things that are meaningful, as opposed to the people on the other side promoting the foolery and the debauchery.
Like for me, when we talk about shows, even though I did get a bit of the Cosby Show, one of my favorites growing up was My Wife and Kids. Like I really thought that was cool in terms of, it was the same thing. They had a Black family. They worked out all of their problems together. There wasn't no nonsense. There wasn't no, yeah. The father, he was an entrepreneur. They was living good, and yeah, they all cared for each other. They was all very loving. It wasn't one of these ones, that kind of had the image of this cold Black family. And yeah, man, I think that was a family that I'll be happy to be part of.
And what about Blackish?
I don't think I've seen
I
that.
don't know. I don't think I watched that.
No, I think Blackish is very negative, and it plays on the kind of
The stereotype.
the stereotypes of thing, and I think that show was put in place to obviously kind of confuse people, and also kind of reinforce the agenda by making us believe that we have another show that's giving us, because even the way and there's another one that Rev Run did that's on Netflix. If you really sit down and you look,
What's the name of it?
I thought hold on, I forgot. I totally forgot. But if you sit down and you really look in between the lines, you can see that it's like, even the way they talk, like it's like you can see that they're not really feeling what they're
Actually, this
promoting.
Blackish one, I know this one actually, the one you're talking about. It's, to me, this is like a modern My Wife and Kids, but that has gone a bit left.
Exactly.
Oh, it went left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Oh.
it's a
I
bit
forgot
more
what it's called.
infiltrated. It's like, you
But
know,
this is scary, folks, because the only decent image that we can all agree with was something that was back in the 1980s as solving the race problem mentioned, Cosby Show, and then you had a different world.
Yes, I love a different world. I think, you know what? I think overall, we just had really good images of we just had I guess I don't even watch entertainment like television and stuff anymore. But there was a variety of options. So the same way that we had our, New Jack City and Boys in the Hood, and those might be more negative images, we all had the Cosby, Different World, Living Single. We had, Full House. We had so many, not Full House. What's the one
Hanging with Mr. Cooper?
With the Hanging with Mr. Cooper. We had the Urkel one. We had so many different.
With Moesha. Was Moesha there?
I mean, we have so many options at that time period where we could look at, strong moms, we could look at articulate kids, students who, the youth who were gifted, who had singing talents, who, were inventors. I mean, very different creative storylines. Even my favorite is Good Times. I loved Good Times. I mean, they were in poverty, but when you want to see that examples of masculine energy and feminine energy balancing in that household, and the children were in line, and that they all got good grades, and you saw discipline and love and food. They gather around food.
Did you hear what happened to the show, though? You know the man, John Amos, who played the father of JJ. Do you know why they killed him off?
I didn't know.
Because he was unhappy because JJ, as he saw it, some might see, was too much coonery and buffoonery. And he was complaining about the role of JJ, the comedian who played the role JJ. So what they did was they killed him off. They wrote him out.
Yeah, I remember when James died.
So I was curious, though, isn't BET then waving the flag to promote good propaganda images of Black folk in America? BET,
Oh, yeah.
that's a...
Yes, yes, it is, because it's not even actually a black-owned company. The guy who's on top is a white guy. So yes, it is. It's all about the foolery and the buffoonery of Black people. Yes, it is. And I used to love BET, but I realized I did a lot of research, and they're one of the pivotal American entertainment entertainment stations that are pushing foolery. Untold foolery. You understand?
I agree.
Yeah, I see something about World Star Hip Hop, like a meme, that said that if a white supremacist bought World Star Hip Hop, they wouldn't have to change a thing.
Well, can I chime in on two things real quick? As far as the BET point, that is correct. I'm pretty sure Viacom bought them out, so it's no longer in Black hands. Overall, I would look at it like it is important for us to start to be producers of content and sort of have a 2019 version of some of those positive shows that we mentioned. But I think another element that we can consider is, while simultaneously producing that content, let's also take away the propaganda, because we're constantly being fed the negative stereotypes and negative propaganda through popular media. And I think one of the major weapons that's being used against us to do that is the television. And Frances Cress Welsing used to say that reading is more important than watching TV. She would have people say that 3 times in a row. So I think that if we are going to try to normalize Black self-respect and we want to be the example for the next generation, we could, while producing content that's positive, also cut back on the outlets that are putting the propaganda into our minds, into the next generation, like the television, like World Star Hip Hop. I don't know if anybody else has been following it, but when Q died, you could see there was an immediate shift on that platform. It was always dedicated to foolery and buffoonery, with one little instance of Black empowerment, like one little sliver of it. But once you died, you've seen the whole platform flip. So I don't know if anybody has seen some of the same things, but those are my observations on, how World Star unfolded.
Yes,
Wow.
What the Cosbys, what do you lot think about, not the Cosbys, sorry, Desmond's? Do you lot think from the UK?
Desmond was brilliant. Yeah, it was a brilliant show.
Desmond was a brilliant show. That was a positive show. There's nothing negative about that show. Nothing at all. You understand?
Yeah, that was like the UK Cosbys, kind of, isn't it?
Mm.
What I did realize that was negative, and I only realized as I got older, is Miss Jocelyn, and there's another one. When I look back now, it was very much reinforcing a lot of stereotypes and propaganda that was going on in the early, what is it, the 80s, 90s, that I didn't realize until I was watching it again recently, and I was like really disturbed, like, oh my god, yo, that's how they got us. Yeah, so I think what he's saying is true. We need to get rid of, like, 'cause I swear before they put out pilots for shows, it has to go through so much, and we need to be on them panels. We need to have our own media, and then get me weed away and get rid of all these other negative shows. Like, get rid of World Star, get rid of the whole Love and Hip Hop franchise, Married Group Camp, and all these strippers, even down to Real Housewives of, yeah, get rid of all of these types of stuff, because they are pushing out all these.
Just turn up your microphone.
Sorry, they're putting out all these negative, like, so we just need to have full control of the media, because right now that's one of their biggest propaganda tools.
So I want to throw out a question to everyone. Because Brother E brought up, World Star Hip Hop, and like, to me, I agree with like what the meme is saying as far as it, doing the propaganda for like white supremacy, right? It's the epitome of it. So I wanted to ask, what area, or where is this hurting us as a community? All of this negative press, all of this negative perceptions that are out there against us. What areas would you say is hurting us the most?
It's hurt us in every way, in every area, because it's affecting our children, it's affecting the parents, so it's affecting our mind state. You understand?
Okay.
Because there's nothing positive for our children to see and know any better. Do you understand? And too much things are negative is being normalized to the point we are internalizing and believing that of ourselves, and that's a problem. You understand?
Okay, so it's hurting the children.
Yeah, it's hurting everyone. The mindset, like,
the parents,
and we're internalizing it. Like, everyone thinks it's normal to behave like that. Everyone thinks it's normal to be clapping your house, and black people are loud, and we are ghetto, and everywhere you turn on social media, someone's twerking their ass, and our children are seeing that. And I've seen videos of people recording their children, and they're starting to twerk, and they're laughing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all until when the dad comes and be like, yo, like, what you do? You understand? So it's it's affecting us in every single way, because we're internalizing and allowing people to make us think and believe how we see ourselves. And that's a big thing. If someone can make you feel some type of way about yourself, that speaks volumes. You understand? And that's what we're dealing with right now, because now we're thinking that all these things are attached to black people and our culture as a whole. You understand? And I have to have some argument with people, because whenever they want to say anything, it's always the negative. Oh, this is black people. And even when you have outsiders, that's what they attach themselves to. Like, we have like somebody in another group, because she dated a black man and she's from Hackney, and her man was a road man, and this, oh yeah, that makes me black. You understand? And all these negative things, that's what makes me black. Nothing positive, you understand? And we're reinforcing that, and that's what we internalize, and that's what we actually believe within ourselves. So it's not so much what people think about us, it's actually what we actually internalizing and think of ourselves. That is a big, big problem.
But Sister Kushti, did you want to answer the question about where this is hurting us at, this negative?
Yes. I would probably agree alongside with Sister Spice, but I definitely think it's perception. It's perception from when you might be the only person of colour in your workforce, and then people might want to ask you about the latest hip hop or dance routine. It's perception when they decide to say that little girls are more faster than the other girls in their class. It's perception all around the board, and I think that's the problem. We're constantly battling perception, but I agree with Sister Spices when it gets even more dangerous is when we start internalizing it on top. So I think
Okay.
it's really dangerous in regards to just the perception that we have to face in different stages within our community.
Could I address that question next?
Oh, sure.
Just to reach back for a second, I know as we finished up that last piece about, you know, having those positive media outlets, I want to at least give people a resource where you can go to check some things out. This is called Kweli TV. That's spelled Kweli, Kweli TV. This is sort of the Black-owned version of Netflix. They put out comedy, they put out, you know, kids stuff, documentaries, but it's the Black version of Netflix. A lot more positive content, less coonery buffoonery. You know, we like a little bit of foolishness as Black people, so there's a little bit of it in there. But Kweli TV, that's a good place that people can look if you are tired of the propaganda machine. So as far as the Sister Melanated Goddess question, as far as like how is this affecting us, I'm gonna give you three main areas that I think is affecting us. One of them is economically, because if you look at how the propaganda is affecting us, it's telling you to spend all your money. The rap culture is spend all your money fast. It promotes being financially illiterate. It promotes that you spend your money with, you know, rich white Italians that are outside of your community. So it destroys the economic understanding of the upcoming Black person, as well as any consumer of the music or of the propaganda itself. It attacks us educationally to the point where we don't value education. We don't value being articulate. We don't value reading. If somebody is to sound articulate or quote unquote educated, we'll attribute that to say you're acting white or you're talking white. So the education, how our education, the entire dynamic itself has been shaped by the propaganda. And the last one that I'll focus on is entertainment. The entire field of entertainment is marketed behind Black coonery and buffoonery. There is no space for Black empowerment. There is no space for a conscious Black group of people to be on the world stage for people to hear, because that would be constructive. That would change the minds of the generation to do something productive and get them out of their condition. If you want to continue to pass along the foolery and buffoonery, then we have a space for you. We'll find somewhere for you to go, whether it's on a football field or making people laugh at jokes. So any way it is, the entire entertainment dynamic has been infiltrated and infested within some of that propaganda that we were just discussing.
Mm.
Yeah. Like,
has anybody else tried Kweli TV? I tried to get on. It said it was restricted. I was just wondering whether it was just my connection.
No, I haven't. I only heard about it, I think, the last couple of days, but I haven't actually had a chance to check it out.
Did you type in Kweli.tv?
Yes, it came up, but it just said that it's restricted. So I'm thinking maybe it's my connection, but I just wanted to be sure.
I'll have a check as well.
Yeah, you might have to check it out, but you can get a free week just for signing up. You know, see if you check out the content. Absolutely.
And on what we're talking about in terms of
where it was hurting us
and how it's hurting us, yeah, I think it becomes life imitating art, you know, where we might think that's how we are and how we always been for a certain extent, but really and truly, and then we try and copy how we see ourselves instead of, you know, creating that positive light, and really just being ourselves, like Solving the Race Problem said, you know, which is being intelligent and being all of these things that are attributed to whiteness, which actually is what we're on, or what we've been about, without this this projection that has been given to us, that we've run with as a community and begun to believe that is really us.
I'm with you. Really quickly, I wanted to give some shout outs to the people in the chat. I know you guys said you were loving the conversation. You put your ones in, so just want to say big up to my brother Anonymous, Kwame. Not well. How you say that? You know I'm talking about Kwame. Bless up, brother Kwame or sister. B2. We got Joel. Bless up to Joel and my sister Nine Ether in the Hizels. Who else? Kushti Cosmetic and brother Shakara passed through. Blessings to you, brother. Who else we got? Zirieb.
We got Buddha, we got Sophia, Syriab, Jamal,
Nino Brown, and Buddha was in the house. Buddha, Sister Hawea. Bless up, sister. Mr. Lee. We want to show you guys our appreciation and gratitude for you just even passing through. You know, you are our family, and we are thankful, Brother Gaza Jacob, Big Avelli, content over everything. Man, the family really showed out and passed through, and we really, really appreciate that over here. I have another question. Oh, you wanted to say something, sis? I was going to throw out a question. So was it related to what we was just talking about? I don't want to change it on you. Sister Black Spice, were you just going to say something? Okay. I was going to ask another question, and this one may be a little controversial. So what do you guys think about if we should publicly distance ourselves from people who contribute to these like negative stereotypes?
Do you mean like the cancel culture, like just literally just leaving them alone?
Yes. You think that's possible?
I think it's. Oh, my bad, brother. Go ahead.
Like, I think in some instances, yes, but it's like publicly within ourselves is probably going to be the best and most effective way, because, you know, if we do it in certain platforms and in certain ways, it just kind of gives ammunition to other communities to then use part of their propaganda and, you know, to further throw, it gives stones to be thrown further at the Black community.
Okay, so it's kind of like if it's done openly, it could give more ammunition to reinforce those negative concepts, like similar to like the conversation we were having earlier today about the N-word, and you know, us calling each other the N-word. Then you know, outside communities are just like, oh, look at them acting like N-words, and it kind of reinforces that.
Yeah, that also is, it kind of they can then use our like, and if we do it like as a big group, if now the majority is able to come forward and do that, then I think it's okay. But if it's small pockets, then it's just it can be used as a witness or a testimony to back up what they're saying. So it's like, oh, look, it's not just us saying it. Let's look at these Black people also saying that Black people need to stop doing this, that. It's like, oh, look, it's not just us saying it. Let's look at these Black people. So yeah, that's what I got to say. Go on, brother. You can
I just got a little bit of a different perspective. The way I interpreted your question was more so like some of these groups and organizations that are perpetuating some of the negative stereotypes. I took it in the lane of recent events in some U.S. local news, as far as some of the clothing brands that have been doing disparaging things to Black people. So I took it in that context. And within that vein, should we be open about it? Should we kind of keep that behind closed doors? And for this particular issue, if it's like a clothing brand or it's a popular entity, I would say that we should be on the vocal side of it for the purpose of getting other Black people on the same page. What I mean by that is when Tommy Hilfiger, another brand, popular brand in the United States, he went on TV. He was on a popular show with Oprah talking to her, and she said, you know, what do you think about your clothes being popular? And he said, honestly, I don't think about it. I don't make my clothes for Black people. Black people was, you know, went up in storms. We said we're not supporting him. People were very outward about it. People, if Black people saw other Black people with Tommy Hill, they were very vocal about you shouldn't be wearing that. So I think certain elements of it help to spread the message about who we should be supporting and who we should not be supporting, especially if they're saying messages that are detrimental to the Black community.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question, I guess, definitely could have been addressed, or I mean, taken that way, because I was really asking, should we distance ourselves from people, or that contribute to us being looked up at in a negative standpoint. So I guess the way that you took it is also relevant.
So you say like people within the community, like other Black people?
Yeah. That was kind of the way in which, when I read the question, that's the way I interpreted it. It's like should we distance ourselves from people who contribute to those negative perceptions? And I think sometimes you're able to distance yourself, and then sometimes you're not. I think that's the reason why I speak, when I do speak to Black women, I speak to them in a way that's like, as we get ourselves together, then our overall perception is better. So, because I'm fully aware that I'm lumped into that grouping, whether I meet that, that list of expectations or the criteria, how they feel a Black woman is based on other people's actions. I'm fully aware that impacts how I'm perceived. So I think that, do I distance myself from those people? I distance myself to a certain degree. However, the only way I'm able to have an impact on them is through having interaction. So you see what I'm saying? So I can't distance myself completely and be like, well, those are those women. I'm this Black woman. I can't do that.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So, okay, I'll address it that way. I do understand that our people are suffering from the greatest, the most detrimental mistreatment that the world has ever seen. So I try to be very patient with our people, because not everybody has come to the same understanding of how the white society works, how the dominant society works. So I try to be very patient with them, because their lack of understanding is something that we just have to try to work with them, because I wasn't always as conscious as I am now. I didn't always understand these things. Somebody worked with me and taught me and showed me the right ways. Now, when we should distance ourselves from them is when they start to do things that will co-opt Black society, when they start to do things that are in direct opposition to our progression. Then they have to be removed and kind of excommunicated. Other groups excommunicate and don't deal with people. We should kind of have that same mentality when people are doing stuff that's detrimental to the collective.
I agree, because you can't, we're just not going to be able to reach all people, and they could be that anchor, that dead weight, bringing us down, tearing down the progress that we're making. If our image is changing, or more and more Black people are doing business with each other, and we're doing better financially as a people, and our children are starting to have a certain standard, and we have a certain standard for relationship. And then here you go, someone wanting to conduct themselves in a certain type of way. You have to be like, look, you're not going to damage what the progress that's going on right here, like. And they'll either ship up or shape out.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Brother Raz, you're pretty quiet on the topic. Brother Terry, Brother B2, trying to get everyone to participate.
Yeah, man, I agree, man. I think that it comes to a point where enough is enough, and certain people need to be excommunicated and sort of like distant. But in house, like I don't agree with doing this in the public arena where everybody from the communities, and doing it in a way that it doesn't breed content. Now you have someone that is from the community becoming the enemy to the community and working against the community and sort of like, being a legitimate thorn in our side on the long run. So the departing of people's that are doing these kind of things should be in a way where no hard feelings,
Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna say, bearing in mind we overstand that people are not gonna get it, but in our community there is a very strong false ignorance. Even to the point I think ignorance is false, where people want to make you believe that they don't understand and not aware of certain things that are going on. No, it's because people choose to live in some type of commodity of the ideology of being comfortable, and they don't want nothing to shake that. But it doesn't mean that they're not aware of what's going on. They choose to have a false ignorance, to ignore or pick and choose what they tap into. I realized that as well, and that's from talking to people within our community. Because when they like the way they deal with other people, but when they get to talking to me, I can see that. But like you know things. So why are you behaving like this? Why are you choose? And it is a choice. You understand? It's a choice. So even ignorance in itself is another propaganda ideology. And it's false ignorance. You'd be surprised that people, even though we know that everybody's not going to, and that's not by no means am I saying that everyone's going to be fall in line and they're going to all fit, but trust me, that some people are playing on certain things because they have a commodity of comfortability which they refuse to let go, because as long as they're comfortable within the system, they're gonna run with that. You understand? So that's what I've seen from talking to people in the community.
Respect.
So we're talking about improving our image within the system, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. All right. Cool.
So I wanted to I got another question I wanted to ask the panel. If you have a suggestion of how to tell to the family, if you have a suggestion to you were going to make a suggestion for someone to improve the perception, our perception from like a community perspective, from that other people can have on us. What would you suggest someone like that they could do? Anyone understand, you understand my question, or
Is it
did
like
it?
what can the individual do? Or
Yeah, like what could the individual do to contribute to an improved perception
of our
of
community?
others? Yeah, of our community.
Try to greet each other more. Sorry, that was good too.
You were saying try to what?
Greet each other more, like hail each other up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When we walk past each other, a lot of the times, anyway, certainly in London, young black males, when eyes meet, it has to be some type of screw face. I think we need to be moving away from that territorial, defensive type of mechanism against our own, towards our own people.
Yeah,
Let's
definitely.
embrace
And that
each
one,
other.
like that one is really important. I was thinking like if we was to have like, a certain kind of hat or something where we could just recognize between ourselves, like, okay, so I know that what you're about, like you're not on anything to do with conflict with me as a brother. You see what I'm saying? Like this just kind of recognition that, because it's hard to build in times of tension. So yeah, like being able to drop that tension and be more open with each other will definitely create a lot of a lot more opportunities for growth.
Mm-hmm. Anyone
I
else?
think, I think Sister Kushti was going to say something still. jumped in on that.
Yes, Sister Kushti, what?
I was just gonna say, just actually being an example of what you preach. So whatever you believe in, making sure that what you're doing, what you're buying, who you're committed to, who you're raising is exactly that.
That's big. That's big right there.
And I agree with what the sister Kushti just said. I think that an important element is definitely starting with that person in the mirror, and small things like communicating with other Black people respectfully, just like as you see being, showcased right here. Any insults or negative things you have to say about other Black people, let's keep that behind closed doors or deal with it one-on-one. We don't got to put that on, the entire forefront to be broadcasting our dirty laundry. Make sure that Black people, when you're around Black people, make sure you're doing constructive things. You don't have to just be standing on a corner doing that, catering to the negative perceptions. You could be doing constructive things together. So I think all of those things would tie into the overall perception of the Black community.
I agree.
I really I think that to go with what the brothers have said about as far as attention, I think as building a sisterhood, if I would recommend that sisters begin to look at other sisters not as competition, but as a sisterhood, as an ally, as someone. Every sister has a story, and every sister has something that she can impart and help another sister out, and vice versa. So I think there would be a whole lot less YouTube videos of women fighting if women truly was able to tap into that and not see every woman as your competition. So instead of supporting her and lifting her up and giving her encouragement, it's like, oh, why she got those expensive shoes? I know she can't afford those, or blah, blah, blah. It would be, sis, you wearing that outfit, you looking nice, X, Y, and Z. If someone is confident, then don't try to insult them and tear them down so they could be less confident, or like she thinks she all that just because she's confident or she's articulate or something like that. So that would be my feedback. My recommendation to someone of how they could change the perception that not Black women can be together and not disagree and be ratchet and screaming at each other.
And change like our foundation, like get back to like two parents being at home, initially dealing with problems like emotionally with our children, between each other in the home. You understand? Like build.
Yeah, another thing that I would encourage people to do is just to be more accepting of some of our differences. I think one of the areas where they may be uh, uh, the perception that that we don't have any unity and we don't even care about each other is because we tend to have like this crabs in a barrel mentality. So where you have people who might not have gone to school, they have animosity and anger, resentment towards the population, the group, the part of our population that might have gone on for higher education. And then vice versa, you have people who have achieved certain things in their life, and what they do is they look down on people who are in a different position, and all of a sudden they're ghetto, and they're low down dirty roadman, and they're the N-word, they're this, they're that, they're hood rats and all of this stuff. We got to start to look at that group of our population as a population that has gone through some things, obviously, for them to even be in that position, and that poverty is no fun, and poverty can have some really strong ramifications of how someone will the outcomes in their lives and so forth, and the options that are presented before them and how they make those. So we have to start to like really begin to look at each other's situation differently, so the way that we deal with them is differently, we deal with we more accepting of our people and not giving off this negative perception that we are disunified and everything.
Can I chime in on Black unity real quick?
Sure.
And I think that that's a crucial topic. It's a crucial point, and I think you definitely speak in truth to power. And I found that, like, my analysis of the situation is that it's not necessarily that Black people can't unify. I think that that's something that, you know, gets passed along, but Black people can certainly unify. Like, if we talk about a Black sorority or a Black fraternity, we can unify into that. If I say, everybody, we want to go watch the football game or the soccer game, we'll unify under that. We'll unify if I say, all right, we're going to go get some bottles and go to the club. People will unify under that. But the problem becomes we don't unify under constructive things, things that would improve our condition, the things that we need to be unifying under. We are not. That kind of gets swept under the rug. We unify under foolishness. So it's not a matter of us being able to unify. I think we absolutely can. It just has to change or shift the focus on what's important and start heading down a constructive path. But I think you definitely speak in truth to power, sister.
Well, thank you. And yes, that was definitely a valid point you made, you know, and that's, I guess it's like a call to charge for us all that, you know, to start unifying for more constructive things. You know, if there is a way for you to unify over, let's say, a coat drive and or, you know, giving hot meals to the hungry, or you know, donating a suit for homeless people to be able to have, you know, nice wear when they're getting their employment options, or whatever, just first time home buying classes. We need to be able to unify under certain projects that are aimed at building us up as a community, you know, starting businesses, just things like that, and not the ratchet stuff.
Yeah, definitely. But quickly, as we've got only like 10 minutes left, why do you think that is? And then after that, if anyone wants to say, like, moving forward, any suggestions on what we can do to unify and these kind of things to wrap it up.
Why do we think what is, Brother E?
Like that we it's struggle to get behind these constructive things uniformly.
I'm gonna go with what's the word? Marketing and lack of organizing. I think that certain things are organized, but those things need stronger marketing avenues. And I think that but we still need to organize in other areas. Like a lot of times you might have a few organizations trying to target a million different areas because there's so many things, so many areas that need addressing in our community. So we need more and more people being innovators of different programs or businesses that offer services to meet the needs of you know, the different needs in our community. So I would think that that's a huge part of why we struggle in that area.
Yeah, I think the marketing one is a very strong point.
Mm-hmm.
I'll jump in there if I could, if anybody else. Sorry. So I do think that as far as why we cannot organize, and it made me think of a quote from Marcus Garvey, who basically said something along the lines of the greatest tool used against the Negro is disorganization. You know, that's a tool. Disorganization is a tool that's used against us. Used against us by who? And we always going to have to look back to the dominant society. All roads lead right back to racism. And the point of reference that you can look this up is the National Security Council. It's also called Memorandum 46. If anybody wants to fact check that, you Google that and you'll find out that this is an FBI document that the United States put in order, that they specifically state that they want to seek to destroy the Black community. Like they have a very specific outline of how they do not want to see the Black community progress, specifically in America. These are things that we can't ignore. So we do have two sides of the fence. That we do have a group that is currently see into it that they do not want to see us organize. They'll use drugs to do that. They'll use propaganda. They'll use violence. They'll use miseducation. They'll destroy an economic system. They will do all these things so we cannot organize. So we do have to understand the elephant in the room while simultaneously being able to build our house and unify under Black liberation.
Wow, that sounds really tough. The way you the way you
Well,
put
you want me to break that? I can break it down a little bit more. I don't want to take up all the airtime. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we have about 6 more minutes to the show, so we want a couple more people to pretty much say why do you think there's a barrier towards us having this unity.
Can I jump in?
Sure, brother B2.
Cool. So with the unification thing, yeah, I feel like a lot of the time, and this isn't unique to our community, but certainly is evident in our community. A lot of the time, we get sort of drawn into or tunnel visioned into over analyzing the differences, and sometimes that takes away from our ability to recognize the similarities. And we do share a lot of values. I think if we try to first meet on the similarities and respect each other's differences, we'll find the whole unification process a lot easier. So yeah, I feel like that's a huge part of it. Making that effort, a commitment to unification. Do you get me? Because as well, unification can't be conducive unless both parties are open to it. Do you know what I mean? And display a certain level of commitment to it. And that even again touches on what we was talking about not too long ago about as we pass each other on the roads in passing, to try to embrace some sort of endearment towards each other as opposed to this territorial sort of standoffish kind of energies. Do you know what I mean? Trust as well is another issue. We have trust issues. And again, I think that taps into the representation displayed in the media. Black males are typically displayed to be gangsters. And deep down, I think sometimes when we're dealing with our own people, we even worry about our safety. And these are issues we need to address and build relationships in our community to be able to look past these things. Yeah, it didn't take too much.
So true. That trust is a big one. I agree with you, brother. Brother E, what was the second part to your question? Think we have 4 more minutes?
Anything else to add? But I suppose, yeah, I think we've done cool. Now, I would just like to plug a couple of the shows that we got coming up real quick. So tomorrow we got Brother Scattered Minds. His is gonna be UK time 7 p.m. Eastern. That's gonna be 2 p.m. right? That's gonna be about bridging the Pan-African gap. Then on Wednesday, content of everything's going to be hosting. It's called Kuhn Couture, the black face of fashion. Is going to have Dr. X, Mula Cake on there, and I think Flyanda on there. And then also Shakara is going to be having a show on Wednesday. Let me see if he set up the time because I'm not too sure.
Wait, so that's COE and Shakara on the same day?
Yeah, they're both going to be on Wednesday. But is it going to be on?
What time would COE's show?
Bear with me 1 second. I need to just get that. That one is going to be at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, UK time. So that will be 3 p.m. Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, give me a sec. And also there will be Solving the Race Problem has his own channel. It's got loads of content on there. Gonna put that link in the description and also in the chat.
Appreciate
everybody that wants to check that out.
Subscribe to Solving the Race Problems channel.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, Joe.
It's got a lot of heavy hitting information on there. But yeah, Brother Shakara, he hasn't posted the schedule. But yeah, basically go on Got Kush TV, subscribe to that as well, and yeah, you'll be able to find out when that's going to be on Wednesday.
Awesome. We sounds like a really good lineup. Brother Air, you want to share the topic for next week?
Okay, so next week, what we're going to be talking about is whether we should be encouraging trappers, drug dealers, to contribute more finance, or not more, contribute to the causes of the community more.
So we
Should we
will.
be encouraging drug dealers to put more money into the causes of the community, and build up the community?
Yes, I learned that they are called trappers. I didn't know what a trapper was. So thank you, YouTube, for teaching me all this lingo. So we know you guys are going to be excited and come back and join the Constructive Convos family next week, where we will dive into this interesting topic and trying to figure out, be creative with, getting donations and resources into our community. And should we be excluding this particular group as probable options? So thank you so much for coming and joining us, the Constructive Convo family. Everyone join me in telling the family bless up and peace and love and thank you.
Stay blessed.
Peace to
Bye.
Black liberation. Appreciate y'all for coming out and listening. Could have been anywhere, but you're right here. We appreciate it.
Namaste.
Yeah, peace, definitely peace, man. Appreciate the time, the energy, the building. And if you're here, that means that you're looking to do something constructive for the community. And yeah, man, the community thanks you also, I'm sure.
Stay blessed, man. Bless up.